We're back, everybody. We're here with my two friends, Laz and Kaleb. We are...
I don't know why this is funny off the bat.
Yeah, man, it's good.
It's great.
Dude,
We'll
I was
After
very excited.
doing 3 seasons of this, you're kind of like, how do we even start these things anymore?
I say the same thing every time. Welcome back, everybody. And I'm like, I'm not going to say that today. So we are back. It is the Christmas season. It's snowy. We've had lots of snow here in Chicago. I like talking about the weather at the top of these too, because it just seems like something you should do.
Yep.
But I am glad that, Laz, you made the trek all the way from downtown Chicago, so far away from here, in the real city of Chicago, where I don't live, and you've reminded me of that many times. But anyways, dude, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for
Thanks for having me.
hanging out. You have become a good friend over a long period of time, and I don't actually remember the first time we met. I think I don't actually remember.
I remember. It was in Florida.
Florida.
We were at what's not WFX or Infocom. It was there was a party. There was a
It was a summit party, I feel like.
yeah, but Frank was with you and we went to the Fuller Light thing.
Yes,
and we were there,
dude.
and then I think we knew each other kind of, but then we went to the Top Golf with Summit after that. And then we hung out.
That's so funny. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's when I remember.
That was in the Chauvet headquarters, right? Or
Four Wall. It was the Four Wall headquarters.
Four Wall headquarters.
Yep. In Orlando.
And it was very hot.
Yeah.
It was so hot, dude. It was like June. And so, yeah, we showed up and they met in the warehouse and I was like, oh my gosh. That's crazy. I forgot about that.
We were there till we were there till 1 o'clock, I think, that night.
Yeah.
It was checks out.
I totally remember now.
I think that night I remember talking to Nick and we had a long conversation about music and different things and it was really cool. Like that was the night that I was like, oh, these guys are awesome.
Yeah, we closed that place down. I forgot about that.
And who else? Max
Brown?
Yeah, his in-laws or something, or were, I think his in-laws, his wife or one of his best friends, his best friend's sister was a friend of mine from when I was in bands way back in 2003, 2004. And so we had that connection. So it was kind of like a wild night. And I was like, this is crazy, dude.
Yeah, that's hilarious, man. And all three of us at the table have lots of fun, hardcore emo stages in our lives.
Right.
I'm still there, baby. Let's go.
Emo never dies,
Emo
bro.
never dies. I still have a
Never
chest
dies.
tattoo, everybody. If you
I
can
still
see
got my
that.
wolf. I still got my wolf, baby.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like you might have been getting that outlined or something.
It was
it was
just 2 years ago.
close to the yeah. Anyways, funny story.
How many
dude.
church guys do you know that got into production because they were in some sort of underground emo band?
Yes.
I feel like most.
Yeah, a lot of people. I think there was someone I met the other day who came to Soul City to check it out, and he was like, "Oh yeah, our worship pastor at our church in Ohio is the guitar player from Haste Today, or was in Haste Today."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "Yeah, and it was super wild because then I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of people that just were in bands and ended up becoming
Wait, what band was Jeremy in? When he was on the podcast,
he was in Jeremiah
He
Carlson.
was in Brutal Fight.
Yes, we talked about
Brutal,
you
yes,
during
there you
that
go,
episode.
Jeremiah,
Yes.
One of the first band I saw live that was gosh, dude, I remember sitting in the front row and being like, this is sick. They were just so heavy and angry and pissed.
Dude.
And I was like, wow. And they were Christian. So it was this is great. I love this.
That's so funny, man. Yeah, I mean, you have all these connections to all these bands that I grew up listening to, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know those guys? You know those guys? And yeah, it's so, oh my gosh, this total side note. I totally, so we have a White Elephant Christmas party this Friday, and for my gift, I bought the car symbol.
Oh, dude, I saw that.
Have you seen those?
Oh, the car
Yeah,
symbol.
it goes on the
symbol.
Yes,
airband.
I have seen that.
That goes in the
Yes.
car.
Yes, that is really
Breakdown.
good. Yep.
Yeah,
That
dude.
is really good.
I was joking with somebody. In college, our drummer used to play with Wuhan China cymbals. And if you're a drummer, how terrible Wuhan actually is, and how cheap those China cymbals are. And he's like, well, regardless of what brand, I will crack the China before the end of the show. So I just keep buying Wuhan Chinas and just get a new one every
It's like an
show.
X32.
Yeah,
You just have one on the shelf and you have one on the desk, and it's fine.
So, anyways, I put one of those car cymbals on my Christmas list after I got it because I was like, I need that. Come on, Cassie, please. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Well, back to Laz, who's our guest.
No,
today.
anyway, it's great. I love it.
Like maybe give us a little bit of a flyover. Like you also, in the vein of our conversation we just had, came into production through music, and like, what was the story there that got you going and got connected in church and all that?
Well, I grew up in church, so I grew up in church since I was born. Basically, my parents are pastors now, still to this day. But I found music, and my dad was like in a band when I was a kid, so they would sing oldies, Christian oldies, so they would like change the lyrics and make them, Christian songs. And so I remember like being a kid and randomly going to like these random churches sometimes where my dad was like singing on stage. So that's kind of like where and then also remember my dad like running sound or like after service sitting in like the front of house booth at the top of the balcony, and they would be making the tapes of the message like on those,
Oh yeah.
Dude. So that's what I remember as a kid. And then I found music in 7th grade. I started playing violin and then trumpet. And so I played trumpet from 7th grade till my senior year of high school.
Nice.
And jazz band, marching band, concert band, or all of it. Like I just did anything I could. And then my dad needed a drummer for church. And so I was like, I'll just play drums. And I learned.
How hard can it be?
How hard
I learned one beat from some dude that was like at a different church, and I played that beat for every song. And then like slow songs I just didn't play. I would just like sit there like, I did a little cymbal or something because I didn't know like how that works back then. So I remember like that's where I kind of fell in love with it a little bit. And then when I found 1,000 Foot Crutch actually was my first like
Rock Fist.
It was before that. It was like their EP.
Yes, dude.
Like I had a cassette tape from like I think Berean's Christian, one of those Christian stores, dude. And I used to listen to it. And I remember like hearing it and being like, "This is so cool." And it was on repeat all the time. And so I think from there that's where I kind of found music. And then when I got into high school is when I started to really like learn more. Some friends of mine wanted to be in a band, start a band, and they're like, "Dude, you should play bass." And I'm like, "I don't know how to play." And my dad bought me this bass. And then they weren't serious about it, so I had a bass. and so
hilarious, dude.
And I just started like playing and like writing music and trying to figure out what I could do. And then the church needed a bass player. They showed me 2 songs, and I played that Sunday night. I had my bass with me.
And you didn't play on slow songs.
Dude, seriously, I did it. It was just like 2 songs I knew, and then that was it. Like I just was on every week playing bass, and then I just progressively got better. And so there's a lot. I mean, it's a long story, but I mean, got into a band then, and another band, and then eventually started touring in 2006, I think. So that was my intro to music, and kind of, I didn't do any production during any of this time. So like to preface that, I didn't start doing production until 2018 when I actually started working at Soul City. That was my first intro. I didn't know anything.
As your job.
Yes. Like I didn't know what SDI was or DMX. I didn't know.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't know any of it. So I knew like music and like gear and like amps. And so I like, I ended up starting a band, and then we got signed to Face Down Records and like did a few years of touring. My stint of like my personal touring was from 2006 to my last one was 2016. So like 10 years of touring on and off. And yeah, I mean, I never thought I'd be doing production, to be honest with you. It's like, and I think just now that where I'm at in my life, I feel like all of those things I did back then kind of had me around it and got me to the point of like, oh, this actually makes sense now that I'm doing it. I've been doing it for, 8 years. And so long story short, I moved to Chicago. I met my wife on Instagram. We were like long distance dating. I was like, let's get married. And so
DM back, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So
we should probably meet in person before we make this decision. But
and I was touring at the time, so like I met her in person in 2015. I was on a tour, played Beat Kitchen here. We met up, had coffee, and I remember like she left that night, and I was like, yeah, this is the girl I want to marry.
That's awesome.
So moved to Chicago, and then she was attending Soul City, so she actually showed me Soul City, and then I remember being like, this is cool. I want to work here one day. Like, to be sick, but what would I do? I don't. I like threw myself in head first. I was a door greeter.
Nice.
And I loved saying hi to every single person that walked in on a Sunday morning. Like, shaking hands, just saying hi. And then I met Patrick and Fabi on a Wednesday night for midweek service. They were like rehearsing. I came early because I didn't know anyone. And they're like, "Hey, dude, how you doing?" You know. And then I like told them I played music, and that was it. Like,
They're like, you're in.
yeah, they gave me. Yeah, after that, Patrick just introduced me to everybody, and then it was like, "You're in," and that was great. So I started playing on worship, and then that was 2016 to around 20. And Amplio did the install for that, the new space, and so
What year was that?
it was 2017.
Wow, it seems like it's been so much longer than that.
Yeah, it's 2017.
That's wild.
Yeah, so like that was, I remember like it being built, and then the old TD became the ops director.
Who was the old TD?
Chris Wheat.
Oh.
Yeah, he came ops
Oh,
director,
if I
and so they were looking for a TD,
Oh.
and then my name popped up, and I was like,
We're like,
Patrick-
Laz is here all the
well,
time.
yeah, Patrick and Jeremy were like, you're
He's
cool.
already around.
Yeah, you're great, dude. Like, you're really, you're a good dude, and like, great to be around, and like, whatever. And I remember being like, what the heck? That's crazy. Like, in my mind, I was like, obviously, I want to work at Soul City. That'd be fun. Like, it'd be cool. But so they kept telling me, just try. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm not gonna do. Like, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And then Sarah Emerson called me,
Mm.
and I worked at a special events company when I moved here, and she was like, hey, dude, your name like kind of is getting thrown around. I would just want to know if you'd be interested in at least like trying to do the interview process and stuff. And I was like, sure. I mean, you're calling me at this point. So, I mean, yeah. So it was a long process, probably like around, I want to say like a month of interviews, dude, because it was just, I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And so I think they just wanted to make sure that I culturally would fit and competencies were there and stuff. And so March 31st of 2018 was my first day at Soul City on staff. And I left Jeannie's mic on during one of the worship sets. Like, it was like, dang it, dude, I'm here, I'm doing it. And then I remember like, that was like, oh man, I'm gonna lose my job. I didn't even start yet, like this whole thing. But I remember I like owned up to it, and I was like, hey, I just want you to know, I apologize. Like, I definitely left it on,
Yep.
and it was a mistake, and I'll make sure that it doesn't happen again. And obviously over the years, it's probably happened again at different times, but it's more so just around owning that it happened, and taking not the blame, but being like, hey, that was on me. It wasn't like anything else.
Oh, I don't
in
know.
that.
That's weird.
Yeah,
the console was
No, I
acting.
don't know. It was-
Waves.
I've never used a CL5 before, so which I had, and I was like,
Well,
I don't know.
The
what
CL5 on is on. Yeah. There's no mute button.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm just confused.
I was just pressing buttons.
I tried to mute it, but that's
my first day. Don't get mad at me, but I didn't do that. So, but that was like my intro into production at that point. And I remember like, I didn't know it. Like when I say I don't know anything, like everyone's like, well, you knew some stuff. I'm like, no, I didn't know how to use the cameras. Didn't know how to use the console. I started learning because of, I think it was like MXU in California.
Yep.
They actually sent me, Sarah and Patrick sent me to California to go to one of the,
That's fun. Was that the one in Anaheim?
no, it was at Saddleback.
Oh,
It was like in the dome, one of the domes they
on,
had.
Yeah.
And I remember like we went and they like flew me out there, and I'm like, I'm not even on staff or anything. They just flew me and took me out and took care of me. And that's when I started diving in headfirst to CL5, and I was like, I don't know how to do this, but just like the bass thing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how to play, but
right.
I was like, just show me a few things and I'll like figure it out. And so, yeah, I remember like I didn't know how to use anything, dude. Like I just literally was like YouTube, read all the manuals, and then I was just doing Sundays. So it was like, something's not working. Okay, I don't know what the heck. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna see and figure it out. Or I know with Amplio, I called them a few times, and there were some people that like Sarah had set me up with that like, hey, I just, I think of Nick Sheets that was at Christ Community.
Oh gosh.
He came out and showed me like some lighting stuff on Vista, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
this is amazing, dude. Like I didn't even know this could do this. Like what the heck? So, but it took a long time, and it was pretty stressful at sometimes because like I didn't know what I was doing. So something now that would take me 5 minutes to do took me like probably 2 days to do because I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And I also had a hard time asking for help because I just wanted to be like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Of course.
I didn't need someone to show me how to do it because I'm, just like how I was wired and how I grew up was like fending for myself kind of thing. So I remember being like, I didn't want to ask for help. And those were the times that like, it's just hard because then I was like, dang, I'm here because of me. It's not like anybody else isn't helping me.
Yeah.
I'm not even asking for help. Like how can I
Interesting.
be mad at someone
really
that's on
good.
staff or someone around me if I'm not even like asking?
Yeah.
Which I had to learn. It took me a long time to learn that because I still struggle with that now. Like just, so it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But
That's good.
that's
man.
eventually like that's essentially what got me from involved in that world. And
I think it's so interesting to hear how you describe the fact that you didn't have any production background, but the team around Soul City saw not the specific skills in you, but like the cultural fit and like the commitment to the community in you. And that was like, that's more important to us than you being an expert in X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I think that's just like an important reminder to leaders in church context. Like whether it's a staff person or a volunteer, the odds are that they're not an expert in whatever. But if you keep that lens of they're invested in the community and they're gonna open the manual and watch the YouTube videos and go to MXU and they're gonna invest the time because it's not because they even care about being the best audio guy in the world. It's that they care about whatever the community needs. And so we're gonna grow our skills to serve the community.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get like, especially when you think about, oh, I just have a volunteer team or something, and so I can't do what I see other people doing. It's like, no, those volunteers are committed to the community. So like, how are we calling them and inviting them to grow their skills?
And I think, it's cool because like a big thing at Soul City is around like our culture and like competencies and different, there's a lot of different stuff, chemistry and things. But like, as far as like the community goes and the volunteer culture, it's like, there was a time I think during COVID where I had to use contractors because we just didn't have it. But there was a few, I think, volunteers that were like there all the time and they were still ready to come in. But like, it was like people just weren't going out.
Right.
And so I think for me, was hard for me because then I ended up getting reliant on contractors and got to this point of like, well, if you guys want it to look like that, because when we had like on Sundays 4 to 5 like cam ops, roaming cam ops. I mean, I had the whole thing and it was awesome, but it was also like expensive and like then volunteers didn't feel as like invested and people weren't around, and so I think it's important for sure. Like there's volunteers that have been there for a long time that I have that are great, and I feel like it is there. And for me, I was a volunteer. It's like I knew what it was like to be on that end of like, I'm gonna play bass for Christmas, so I know that we're gonna be here for 2 rehearsals during the week, and then we're gonna do like 4 services, and it might be long, but also it's just fun to be around all that. And it was knowing that it was so much bigger than me, and I don't think I realized that until later, like later in life. But I think the big thing is like realizing that people who are invested like that are people who want to be there and want to spend the time together and want to, and I think, it's I'm drawing a blank there. So I just
and they want to be called to, like you mentioned, like growing, if you want it to look like X, Y, and Z, you have to invest X, Y, and Z. Well, that investment could be money and to hire somebody, but I think people that feel like the leadership wants them and values them, like that investment also could be in the time to train and like challenge them, right?
Yeah.
Because how many people in volunteer leadership roles, like we've all been in that seat when we're producing a Sunday service and so is doing such and such role, and you just like see a certain thing happen. And instead of just going to them and having a conversation about what you want it to be, you kind of like roll your eyes and just like, that's them again, whatever. And you just kind of move on and it's like passive aggressive and whatever. And then you just don't schedule them again or something.
Yeah.
Versus saying,
I never do that, by the way.
Yeah, right. No, of course not. Versus saying, hey, I'm gonna like that person deserves the intentional investment to say, hey, here's how we want to improve, or here's what we're aiming for. I think you can do it.
Yeah.
I believe that you can do it.
Yeah.
Here's what we're aiming for. Let's do it together. And I think we think that those are hard conversations or awkward, but actually people really appreciate that.
Yeah, 100%. There's a video director I have who, when I came back to Soul City the second time, which we'll talk about in a minute. But
you're spoiling our next conversation.
I remember like it was some of those moments of like, oh, okay, he's not really getting the energy with worship, or some of the cuts were just kind of weird, and it was like too long on someone that wasn't even leading. And I remember being like, well, what the heck? What do I do? And so I remember I finally just had a conversation. I was like, hey, dude, here's some things that I'm noticing, and I know, like you can do this, and like I'd love to see like some of these faster cuts during worship just to kind of get more energy. And dude, he just directed our baptism service I think like a month ago, and we had 2 roaming cams, and then we had 3 cameras that were just baptism cameras that were stationary, static ones, and then we had so he had 8 cameras that day. And I remember when I came, he was just doing like one on sticks, and then it was like that was it.
Yeah.
And so he like was doing things before I even called them on comms that I was thinking about, and I was like, oh shoot, this is cool. So I told him, I was like, dude, great job, like you're doing amazing, like it's so cool to see your progression from like when I started to now, and like you're just doing things that I would do,
Right.
and was even going to call for or started to call for, but you're already doing them. And so that for me, sometimes after I've kind of talked with people or help invest in them, I also like try not to have my hands on all of it. Like it needs to be done like this. Don't forget. Because then it feels like they don't have room to try it. They don't have room to fail to get better. Because then they're just going to like, because for me, I know for me, like I have to have room to fail or else I don't learn.
Yeah.
Like I just, like if someone were to hold my hand and kind of walk me through it, I won't learn that way. I'll just be like, great.
Yep.
I feel like I don't know what I'm doing still.
Totally.
Versus like, that was a really big fail. And it really felt kind of crappy, but also I learned a lot from it. I won't do that next time at all.
Yes.
Like, or I'll do it differently or,
Yes.
you know, so I think it is important to invest in the volunteers that are around because they are, like you said, I'm always the one that's like, oh, I feel scared to have that conversation because they're going to not want to serve or they're going to feel like I'm being mean or something, you know? And it's like, no, I actually care. Like it's actually more of a care thing to be able to have those hard conversations versus like not saying anything.
Well, you're treating them as if they are a competent professional individual who has the capacity to respond to your input.
Yeah. And
like not as someone that you have to just be delicate and like careful.
And knowing that some people do need that too. So like there's different variations of volunteers that some all have to have conversations differently.
Totally.
But still being honest about things, but also knowing that the way that I talk to them or the way I would talk to them is different. How, you know, like I think about like Sergio's our front of house guy right now. And with him, he's like, yeah, just give it to me straight.
Yep.
Don't
beat around the bush.
Yeah. Cause I have a tendency to like, I'm a 9 on the Enneagram. So like for me, I'm just like no confrontation, but also like it's helped me get better as a leader, as someone who's leading the team, and to have more of a relationship and trust with him to be like, hey, dude, here's what I'm seeing, or here's what's going on, or him doing the same thing with me, and being like, yeah, when you don't communicate some of these changes, it actually makes me feel like, what the heck? And so it's super helpful to have that open line of communication, I think, with anybody.
It's really good.
I like, you know, I have personally helped so many, just like walked with so many churches on, like when they're like, hey, we need to hire a new TD, right?
Yeah.
And so often, like I'll get on site, whether it's on a Sunday morning or in the middle of the week, and there's some intern, some volunteer, some kid who's helping out and doing stuff. And I'm like, why am I even here? Like when I see that kid is already crushing it, but on paper doesn't have the experience of something like that. And they want this grand, amazing unicorn that doesn't exist, who wants to come to Des Moines, Iowa from, and you know, not get paid a ton of money or whatever that looks like. And how much better those volunteers can be as employees. And when you like invest the time and resources to do that and going, hey, the time that it would take for us to go find this crazy unicorn, what would it look like in 12 months for you to pour a ton of resources, send this person to every conference, get them one-on-one coaching, you know, and have them go to all these different things and just like throw them into a fire hose of information and how much better they come out.
Because they already have the hardest part. They're already bought in and they're there.
And they're already there.
And that's what I think, that's cool that you say that. Because like for me, remembering now, like Sarah did that with me. It was like, here's all the people I know from like,
you should meet all
from
these
like
people.
Saddleback and all these different churches. And even like with her dad, I remember one time her dad Stan came out and was doing something there. And he like gave me this word of encouragement where I was like, because I remember what I did. I just put, you know, I had everything on my phone. I was controlling everything on my phone. So like I turned the LED wall on and for my computer and put the graphic up, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, it's done. It's great. When you go out there, it'll be ready to go. And he was like, a normal person, like an average person wouldn't be able to do that within like a minute or 2 minutes. At least at the time for me, it was like, what the heck? So he gave me this really cool encouragement of like, you're just such a different person. And it's cool to see that because you just started in March and it's July and you're already figuring out how to do that. And I was like, oh. But I remember like Soul City was very, very, and still is very like great about giving me opportunities to do things that will help me be better. And people that will surround me, or even like the leadership there, like I think about Kelly and Jarrett and Jeannie, John, like people that will just have those conversations with me, that will invest in me. And it means a lot because it's like, you know, you probably see things in me that I don't even see in myself. And so the more conversations we have, the more I'm able to go to Philo or go to different conferences or go to like different experiences or even letting me do things like with Patrick, just going out. It's like it fills me up in a different way. But when I come back, I'm like, I feel so much more prepared and more like, all right, there's some things we can do at Soul City that will bring us to the next level, or like help with some of the communication or whatever. And so, yeah, I think it's important that someone's bought in, because if you're not, like, I was bought in from the moment I stepped foot like at Soul City. I remember my first service was in 2015 before I even lived in Chicago, and Megan took me. It was 2016, and I remember walking in, and it was the first church where I felt like I could be myself because I loved metal. I had tattoos. I was in a metal band at the time. Like, it was just very different for me. And like the church that I grew up in was a little different. They loved hip hop and more like gospel and stuff, which is what I grew up on. But it was just like, that's just not me.
Yeah.
I love aggressive music. I love, all these different things, scary movies, like the whole thing. And so like when I came to Soul City today, the person at the door greeted me. I walked in and I felt like, dang, I just feel like I can be me.
Yeah.
And I remember Gabe talked about being generous and like giving. And I was like, I've never heard anyone put it that way, where it didn't feel like they were just asking me to give money.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is where I want to come. And I remember I moved here and I just jumped in. And so like I was bought in from the moment that I moved here. But like, the investment throughout all of that, even as a volunteer, was just like helped me feel valued as a person.
Yeah. When like how much more confident you feel, like Stan is like he has had similar conversations with me over the years, and like he would write things down on napkins that I had in my car for years that like were so, so much encouragement and potential that he saw in me that I didn't see in myself.
Yeah.
And how like encouraging that is to anybody in our life, that we're like, dude, like you're so much better at this than you think you are, or whatever that looks like. Because it's all like, man, like how many of us maybe in all areas of ministry, just like the imposter syndrome
100%.
of why are you, like, should I be here? Should I be at this church? Like, am I good enough?
Do I have good ideas? Am I doing a good job leading out? Like, totally.
And just like how impactful that can be in somebody's life and change the trajectory of their career. I mean, the people that did that for me, I go, that's the reason why I do what I do right now.
Yeah.
And in so many ways because of that. So I think that's amazing.
And I think it's so important to remember, as anyone who's leading in any capacity, whether it's volunteers or staff in the church, out of the church, like that costs Stan nothing to give you. It was literally a 30-second.
And I remember to this day, like I remember how I felt. I was like, I want to cry a little bit because you're like telling me something that I'm like, I don't even believe that about myself.
Like, it just took him being observant. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Being observant and having the presence of mind to just say the thing he sees happening at the moment.
Yeah.
Like that's so often all it takes to have the person that you're sitting next to, leading, encouraging to think about their next step in their growth, to have them have the energy to like believe that they can do that one more thing is just an observation. And like we were talking, I forget which podcast it was, but it was the last one, where if you don't say it's not real, like you might think it all day long that you think they have a lot of potential and you believe in them or whatever, but if you don't say it out loud, it's not real.
And it's kind of crazy because I feel like that's something I struggle with, of being like, what do I, like, how, I feel like I'm doing, I'm leading well, but it's like, am I actually saying that out loud?
Right. Yeah.
And I think about some of the people on my team where I'm like, maybe I should be saying that more, or maybe I haven't at all, but I think that inside, because I'm like, I love you being here. It's great. Like all those things, but like calling those things out, like people did for me, takes, like you said, it's cost me nothing.
Yeah.
So I feel very convicted in this moment to be like, dang, there's some stuff I need to work on.
Yeah, man.
Just all the time, just kind of learning what I can. So
Stan has this, if you're ever like around him for long periods of time, he always carries like dollar bills in his wallet and a Sharpie, and he will basically write a word of encouragement and like on the dollar bill and then like give it to you. It's very, like the first time like I saw him do that, I was like, that's very, very odd. But it's very cool. And one of the phrases that he would say is basically like, I can't remember the exact phrase of how he said it, or if it was from, I don't know, a book or something like that, but it's like, nothing comes into existence without being spoken first. And it's the same concept of like you calling something out in somebody, like it doesn't happen without you actually saying it out loud first. And even just the biblical interpretation of that and how Jesus lived and how he spoke those things into other people's lives too. But more people like Stan should be on this earth, and I want to become like Stan. I've told him that.
He's great. Yeah,
I have his hair, dude. Man, he's got some sick looking hair, bro. Just awesome. My first time with it, this is totally side note, was with I was at the National Worship Leaders Conference in 2008.
Oh.
And
I think you told me this story.
I think I might have told you the story. Yeah. And he was leading the choir that I was in for some reason, that my church signed us all up to be in this choir on stage. And Stan was the choir director for us, and we were playing with the Gettys and Tommy Walker.
Yep. You're throwing back.
Oh, Kaleb was there watching you.
Yeah, I wasn't there, but I've been to
Church of the
events
Resurrection,
with all
Orland
those
Park,
people.
Kansas.
Yep, I know exactly where it's
Oh,
at.
yeah. Lord. Tommy Walker. I remember being backstage and watching the guitar tech like put his, like the gun holster guitar strap on,
Oh my God.
on his back. And I was like, what is happening right now? So, and I have a video of it somewhere. I should find it.
Oh my gosh. Please show it.
I'll tell DJ to post a clip of that.
Amazing.
But oh my gosh. Anyways, so you mentioned it like briefly the second time you came back to Soul City.
Yes.
And I think when I texted you about coming on, I was like, oh, Kaleb and I were talking about, man, who should we have on? And, I'm like, man, Laz has quit church a couple of different times.
Yeah, we want to have that
And
conversation.
gone back.
Too many times.
And gone back. And I think it's a fascinating conversation because so many, people, including myself, have left ministry and or changed roles in ministry. Yeah. Sometimes for the best, sometimes for like, oh man, maybe like I learn more out of this than what it's actually doing for me to change churches or whatever, roles like that. And so I'd be interested for other people to hear like what happened,
what led to
what led to
there was
back
a few times.
right.
There was a few times. So I think COVID was one of them. And that was just, I think everyone was just trying to jump ship.
Hard,
and I think I was just kind of on board with doing the same thing because everybody else was doing it. So I was like, I need to, this is crazy. I want to do something else. Like, so I ended up getting a job and like putting in my notice. And then it was a longer conversation I had. And Jeannie was like, just really spoke into me. And so I ended up staying at Soul City that time. So that was the first time, which is 2020.
Yep.
August of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time I left, that one wasn't like officially like I left.
Yeah,
it was
hadn't
more
left
like,
yet.
Yeah, no. So then when I actually left was in November of 2022.
Okay.
And I quit. I quit that year. And I guess we can kind of walk through how that happened or how.
I'd be curious, like what were some of the things that you were just feeling internally that made you think, hey, maybe it's time for me to do something outside of ministry? At that point?
And so a big part of it actually was like I grew up obviously in church, like, and I remember like when I got to Soul City, very big on mental health and like doing therapy and doing stuff. And I remember like I was in therapy for a long time, but we got to the point of talking through like how it was for me growing up as a kid in ministry, which like remembering I was always at church or always doing something. And I think I was like, I don't want that for my kids because we ended up, then we had both our kids at that point. And so I was like, I don't want my kids to feel the way I did growing up where I was always at church or my parents were always at church and we were always there.
Yeah.
And so a big part of that for me was like, I just didn't want my kids to do that or go through that. So I was like, that's one reason. The other things that kind of boiled up was like, I just burned myself out. I didn't ask for help. And I was like, everyone else isn't working as hard as me.
Yeah.
No one's doing the same amount of work I'm doing. Like all of this stuff, but I didn't say it out loud to anyone. So excuse me, I didn't say it out loud to anyone. So it just kind of like stewed and boiled up. And I just ended up was like, and I think that year for Soul City, we had a really hard year. And there was some like, which is, I'm not really proud of doing this, but like we had some layoffs that happened. I think a lot of churches did at that time. So we did in 2022. And in the middle of that, I quit. I was like, they were telling us like, here's your new kind of roles or what's the new responsibilities you'll have and things. And so I remember just going in there and I told John before we went in like, hey, today I'm going to put in my 30 days and I'm done. And me and him had been talking about it for a while, like about a month of like how I was feeling, what was coming up for me, which I really did appreciate because he held space with me and like was talking to me about it. Not like, hey, you need to stay here, you should do this, but like really just holding space. And I remember that day, like I felt like I betrayed him because I was like, I'm doing it, I'm out of here. And it was just like, that was it. And so I had my last day on the 12th anniversary of Soul City Church. And I was like, here's what you're going to do when I leave. You're going to run broadcasts from front of house and I am out of here. If you need anything, text me, call me. I'll help as much as I can. And then That was scary. But I felt like it was like the thing I needed to do. I felt like I really was like, I don't want my kids to know what it's like for me to be at church and I don't have time for them or something, you know?
Yeah.
And so during that time, I was gone for a year and went through different companies, worked for different companies, went to one, thought it was cool, left there because it was crazy. Went to another one, was there, but I think I kind of just was like trying to figure myself out. And that year, I remember like at the end of 2022, I started like my business, like Beyond Grapes. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. And so I was all like excited and, you know, and then all of 2023, like I did, I think one project and then nothing that I actually wanted to do was happening. And I was like, dang, this is crazy. So I ended up freelancing with Ampio for a little bit. I did stuff with, a lot of stuff with Todd Fusion. So I did like GLS and did some other things. And I remember like,
I mean, as soon as you went freelance, like you were getting calls like crazy.
Yeah, I was all over the place. But I remember during that time, I was like, holy crap, I do know what I'm doing. Because when you're in a church bubble, you're like,
man.
I don't.
Interesting.
You know, and I think with that experience with both Soul City and me was like we didn't know what we had with each other.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, wow, I do know what I'm doing. I'm really good at what I do. And not in a like arrogant way, but of like the experience that I've gained just in doing my job at Soul City is like, holy cow, this is crazy. So then that happened. And then also at the same time, in the back of my mind, it was like Soul City was struggling because they were trying to figure it out. And so I just felt like I was just angry. I was angry. I was mad. I was trying to figure out things. And it was one of the hardest years of my life for sure, for my family, for me, but also one of the years that made me feel like I knew what I was doing. I knew what I wanted to do. But I remember during that time, when did I come back? I came around, I was contracting with Soul City. So I was on a front of house contract just doing mixing. I was like, great, this is cool, fun, you know? And I remember there was a conversation I had with someone that worked at Soul City. And he was just telling me about like what was going on in life and like with his son and stuff. And I remember being like, what am I doing? Like, why am I not in ministry? Yeah. And that's the first time, because I was like, I'm never going back to church. Yeah. I'm never doing this again. Like, I'm not going to do that. And I remember being like, what am I doing? Like, why am I'm struggling so much trying to figure out what to do with my life. And I feel like this one conversation for me was the moment that kind of kicked it off, where it was like, I think I'm supposed to be in ministry. And I was like, okay, that's cool. It's great. You know, I thought about it and I was like, all right. And then we had the 13th anniversary at Soul City that year. And I was mixing in front of house. And I remember being like, I think Jeannie was teaching about like rooting yourself in a church, rooting yourself somewhere, being like, some of you think you're coming to Chicago and you're going to move away, but actually you're supposed to be here. And like, it wasn't like you need to stay in Chicago. It was just kind of like, you know, really finding your place. And I remember being like, oh my God, dude, what am I doing? Like, because I looked at Nashville, you know, at Nashville, like all these places. Yeah, like back to California, out, you know, lots of things. And then I remember that message. I feel like I almost want to cry because I remember that message happened, but my kids were there with me. Because I think Megan she had like an overnight with friends that weekend. So the kids were with me. And I remember that we were doing Praise by Elevation. And they were singing it. And I have a picture of them standing in the aisle looking at the stage, and I was like, oh my God, dude, like, I don't need to like leave and run away for my kids to not feel the same way. Yeah. And so I remember that moment was a moment for me where I was like, okay, I think I'm supposed to be in ministry. And I came home and told Megan, I was like, I feel like I'm supposed to be in ministry. And she's like, what the heck? Because I had told her like how much I was like, oh no, never again, and all this stuff. And I remember like, she's like, all right, and let's, you know, did you pray about it? I was like, no, I didn't yet, but let me do that. So I remember like really thinking about it, really praying about it, and being like, all right. And I remember I went to the conversation with Soul City being like, hey, I don't want this to be like, you know me, so just take me back. Right? I think they were the same way, like, it's just not like we know you, want to take you back. Because I know in the summer there was a time where it was like, dang, the money is like, I'm making money, but it's not, you know, freelance money is not like.
It's different,
Yeah. And it was like, I was making good money, but it was not in our bank. Yeah. And it was coming in a month or coming in 2 weeks, whatever. And so I could have easily been like, hey, you know, like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, just call them and say, I'll come back and let's do it. Like, because I need money, because I need this stability. Yeah. And I remember feeling like that just wasn't, like, I feel like that wasn't morally right for me to do that because I didn't feel like I was invested in Soul City at that point. So I remember in December of 2023, I messaged Jeannie and was like, hey, want you to know, like, I'm considering coming back, and I'd love to have a conversation around it. And then Kelly like hit me up, and then, you know, Garen was working there at that point. And so like we had a meeting, and then I had interviews. I had the whole thing. Like, so by the time Christmas rolled around, I had an offer. And then I started January 9th of 2024 back at Soul City.
That's crazy.
And I remember like my perspective and my outlook on church and everything changed when I came back. I remember being like, I could care less about production at this point. I could care less about how good I am at what I do or what I know or how fast I learn. Like, I want people to know about the gospel. I want people to know about God. And if I'm not doing that through what I'm doing, then it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care about anything else but that, which really changed a lot. Because it's like, not that I don't care about Soul City, but it was like, if we're not doing this for the right reason, then it's pointless. Like, absolutely pointless. And that was never the case for me before. Like, before I left, I was like, just want to do the coolest thing,
the newest thing.
Newest thing. Like, so I think it definitely changed my perspective, especially when I came back. It was like, I just want to do things that are going to be fun and intentional and exciting, but also in a way, and creative, but in a way that's actually going to bring something fresh and new to people around the gospel, you know, like doing it differently, just kind of like, yes. I mean, that was the big thing for me when I came back, and I was like, I really don't care about a lot of this stuff anymore. I care about the community that was there. That was the big thing I remember too, was like, I'm supposed to be doing life with people and like pastoring people, and not so much like my title is pastor, you know, whatever, production pastor, none of that. It was more so just around like actually being a person that would walk with them through life. And so that was a big part of it too, where I was like, I want to walk with people. I want to have community with people, and I want to lead them, and I want to let them see me too at the same time, but through the lens of the gospel, not just like what I think is cool or what the church is doing or like how this church does it. I should probably do the same thing on how I do production and lead people. But it's like every church is different. So for me to try to do that was just didn't feel right. So that was kind of the journey. And there was some moments for sure that were like, what the heck am I doing out here? Like, what am I? And I mean, it was like, I was just doing freelance and other stuff. You know, I did, and I learned a lot in those experiences with like production, like more than I ever have in my life. But I remember coming back to Soul City that January. I remember John was like, dude, it's so great to have you back. Dude. And like, we both had this.
You guys were struggling. Like that church was struggling.
Yeah.
And I remember getting calls from Lindsay. Maybe I think John called too. Was like, dude, do you know anybody that can help? Because we're dying. Yeah. And I felt like it was hard for me to see that because of how much I invested in it, but also just because I cared about Soul City as a whole. Yes. Not just like what I created with them as a community and like where I went to church and like where I, you know, started like my ministry life or cycle there, like whatever you want to call it. Like I cared so much, and it was so hard to see it from the outside, which is why I contracted front of house. But at some point it was like, I think I had to like separate myself to make sure that I like knew exactly like, hey, this is like where I want to be or I don't want to be. Yeah. Not just kind of like, we broke up, but let me hold your hand still when we're hanging out. I think like
some of the things that stand out to me about your story is like you had to identify what the sticking points were for you. Like you mentioned about your kids and their experience. You didn't want them to have a certain experience that maybe had been negative in your life, and you're like, how do I create something different? And you had to go through the process to realize that you were creating something different, right? And it looked differently than maybe you thought it did, but you kind of went through the process to figure out, okay, here's what that expression looks like in our family, right? Or with yourself, like you mentioned, articulating what you need and needing help or the kind of rhythm that you need. Like I imagine when you came back to Soul City, you like you were just describing, you kind of reframed your own expectations, but I would imagine you kind of reframed even what the organization's expectations might be and like what that role looks like and how you wanted to show up in a healthy way for what you were going to need to be in that season. Yeah. And for you, it took leaving and coming back. Maybe there's people listening that could actually work through that process without having to quit and then get rehired. You're like, that's probably good too. But like to listen to your story and think about in their context, okay, what are those things that I just never have articulated that are actually what's making me feel stuck or making me feel frustrated? And then can I address those things with my leadership or in my own self-leadership to actually get to a good place? Or is the right thing to leave? Because sometimes it is to leave. You know? But there's so much to kind of, it's like we were saying earlier about the encouragement of like, it's not real unless you say it. Sometimes it's hard to even really get clear about what the issue is, you know, with yourself, and be honest about what you're actually trying to, like, I hate this and my life is hard. Okay, well, what? Like, say more. Dig into that, you know?
I think it's very important to take care of yourself, not only spiritually, but like mentally. Like for me, a big thing was therapy, and like just like knowing that talking through some of those things helped me was like something I thought, like, especially as a Hispanic person growing up, the stigma around that is like something's wrong with you if you're going to therapy. And I believed that 100%. And whenever I started at Soul City, it was like, no, you should definitely take that hour to do it during the week while you're at work. Like, we are all about that. And I was like, I'm good. Like, I don't need that. And it was actually, my wife started going before I did. And then I remember like being like, what the heck? I'm just having a hard time. Like figuring out, like articulating what's going on with me. I didn't know. And so I remember I finally reached the point where I was like, all right, I'll reach out to somebody. And I found a therapist, and it was like, it was wild because I was like, I didn't realize that I was feeling all these things, or that, you know, the way I grew up affected how I am now, or like just even part of why I left, you know, like.
So good.
So I think as a production person, especially, like making sure you're taking care of yourself in that way, because if you're not leading yourself well, you're not going to lead anyone else well, like at all. Like you'll just be like carrying all your stuff. And I've learned this a lot with having kids now, is like the things I don't heal from or deal with are passed on to my kids. And I don't want that, like at all. Like I try my best not to. And sometimes it's hard, it's a struggle, but like I feel it's the same way with like when you're in ministry. Like if you don't work on yourself, you're not in tune with God, then you're not gonna be able to help anybody else or walk alongside somebody else, because you're not even taking care of yourself. And that doesn't mean, I mean, obviously physically and all those things come as well. And I think those are very important as well. But like mentally, if you're not like in a space where you can be like, I know how I'm feeling and where I'm feeling it and what's going on, then how could you have a conversation with someone that's telling you, I don't know what's going on, or what's, you know, like it just feels like it's a lot of just kind of like, not beating around the bush, but you're kind of just having shallower conversations, which I love shallow conversations, which I love just being on the surface, because I feel so deeply sometimes that I don't want to have those conversations, because I think I'm scared to get close to people.
Totally.
So in ministry, it's hard because I like have a lot of people who want to be around in community, and I just am not the way I grew up was like people would come into my life and then they leave. And then it was just like, that's kind of what I knew, especially being in ministry, because they'd come to the church and then they were attending the church, they were my friends, and then their parents something would happen, they leave.
Yeah, they go.
And that's it. And so I'm like, why would I get close to anybody? And so now that's something that I try and be intentional about, is not being so on guard. But I wouldn't know that if I didn't take care of myself in therapy or go through like different.
Yeah. Or I think like, I'm sure leaving and showing up at a different church every Sunday to go mix when you were freelancing, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
And the ability to go, oh shoot, like my community or my wife and kids are home at a different church, at my home church, and I'm not there. And like, I don't know, you don't always know that until you
leave.
It's gone, you know, which is like really crappy.
Yeah. I remember Kelly, when I came back, was like, dude, you had to leave. Yeah. Like, because I'm like, oh man, I just wish I would have stayed. Like I could just work through it. But she's like, yeah, but you did it and you left. And like, you had to do that. Yeah. Because then I learned a lot about myself, and like I said, the abilities I have or what I've learned. And I learned even more being outside of Soul City, because it wasn't a church or the same church.
Yes.
So it was like, you know, I was mixing all different churches, different consoles, like tons of different things, where it's like, I'm just going to jump in and do it. And I did it. And so I feel like you kind of, I'm not saying you should leave if that's where you're at. I mean, if you need to, then obviously yes, but like whatever you can do to kind of look at inside and be like, what is actually, like you said, what am I actually feeling?
Because if you don't identify that, I mean, you just take those things to the next place you're going to.
Yes.
Right. And if you can't be honest about what the thing actually is, then how do you know when you've solved it?
Dude, so
right.
Yeah. So I forgot about this. So there was a moment where I was like, when I left Soul City, I was like, went to another company. I was like, man, everyone just makes me so mad. I like, screw everybody. Like they're the problem. I'm not the problem. And I remember Megan was like, this is like kind of a pattern for you. And I was like, what are you talking? Like, I was like on defense, like, no, what are you talking about? And she was like, what's the common denominator? Because like, this happens a lot in different companies. And I'm like, and she's like, I think it's you. And I was like, okay, all right, like, no way. And, you know, but then I thought about it and it messed me up like hardcore. Cause then I was like, oh, Soul City is not the problem. This company's not the problem. That company's not the problem. I'm the person that actually didn't, like, I'm just repeating these patterns of how I grew up or how whatever it is to keep myself guarded or safe. And when I figured that out, it was a moment of like, oh frick, dude, like I shouldn't have, like I blame so many people in life that they were the problem or they were the reason why I was doing this. And it was actually me just not looking inside and being like, oh, you're actually not the problem, but you're the reason.
You're contributing.
Yeah,
you're
common denominator.
like that's such a huge. I mean, that's such a word for everyone to be always
it
like
me up
reflective
so
in
much,
that way.
dude. I was like, oh Lord,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to believe it, and it was hard to believe. But I'm glad she told me because it was something that then I ended up talking in therapy, and it was like, oh man, it really like was like a thing of like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't be getting mad at everybody else.
Yeah.
And then maybe I should just work on what needs to be worked on and figure it out. You know,
And it's not to say that there aren't problems in other situations,
Totally, yeah.
but
Yeah.
there totally are. But also, like you're only able to control yourself, and you can work on yourself and participate in those scenarios in the best and most healthy way.
Yeah.
And you know, at least that's where you got to start.
Totally, yeah.
Well, and if you don't have a spouse who will say that, or if you don't have a spouse in general, like go find somebody who can like tell you the truth in that and call you out and be like, hey man, I think like turns out it's not just the authority or whoever, you know, whatever figure in the organization that you're frustrated with, because every place you've gone, you've had an issue with your boss or you've had an issue with your people who work for you or, you know, whatever that looks like. And what a gift to have a church that can walk through that with you because, you know, like I left multiple churches and it wasn't until years later that I go, oh, maybe I was part of the problem of some of the things that I had issues with. And hindsight is 20/20, and it's hard to see that in the moment because you're so head down with whatever situation you're in. But to be able to come back, and whether or not the break for you to leave is the door that opened up the ability for you to speak openly, both to the church and then to you about like, hey, here's different expectations of what I hope I have if I come back on staff.
Yeah.
Does that align with where you guys are at? Because I don't want to do this again. I don't want to quit again for a third time.
Yeah. No, I don't. No, whatever. I don't want to again. No way.
Yeah, because it's hard, and you know the ability to have that in a church, I think speaks volumes of Jeannie and Jarrett, and
100%.
just like that team there. And I mean, we've had so many of we could have anybody on your staff on, and they would be amazing as a guest here. But I think you doing that, it's the only way that you would have known to leave and come back.
Like you said, coming back was definitely like, hey, I think the expectations too around how it was showing up is something me and Megan talked about. Was like showing up differently, setting myself up so that I'm not doing everything myself. Because that was my like, I got to do it because I know how to do it right, you know, kind of thing. Instead of like, hey, this may not be done right, but at least some of this work will get done and I don't have to do all of it myself. So I think it was like really setting myself up with teams and people and not relying on people, but giving ownership to different volunteers of like, hey, I know you can do this 100%. And so would you be willing to do, you know, loading ProPresenter kind of thing. And it's like things that I can do probably in 20 minutes or something, but it's like 20 minutes that I can use doing something else. And so, it was something that I had to like really shift inside of like, okay, I'm showing up different. I can't just fall back into my old habits.
I think part of that too is the church bubble you're talking about, and like being, when you're in it, it's very hard to not think that you should just be the one to do it all. Very similar to like the way you're like, oh, I didn't know anything when you first started in 2018. And what would now take you 20 minutes was taking you 2 days. Like you calling a volunteer into go doing that thing that might take them 6 hours, that would take you 20 minutes. But it's like, but the ability of doing that and not only calling them higher into elevating more in what their role is, whether it's a volunteer or a staff position. And you being able to lead better through that, because man, how many times did like I complain about all of the work to be done, but I didn't ask anybody for help.
It's the worst.
And it's like, well, I didn't ask for help at all. So what's the problem?
I used to get so mad. Like people would be leaving at like 5 o'clock on a big week, like anniversary week or Christmas.
Be nice.
And I'm like, what are you doing? And like, you're never here and da da da. And then like, I remember one conversation I had with Fabi was like, I was like mad about it, her not helping on stage, you know, worship and stuff. And I'm like, then I talked to her and she's like, dude, you didn't ask me. Like I would make some time to do it. And I was like, oh, crap. Okay, so I'm mad at you. Yeah. I'm mad at you making up all these stories instead of just asking you for help or saying, hey, when you leave at 5 o'clock, it makes you feel this way. But then she's like, you didn't ask me. I was like, oh, okay, well.
It's unset expectations, man, in life, whether it's in work or a marriage, dude. Like unset expectations will destroy relationships, and not having the, beating around the bush only does so much, and not being able to, whether it's you don't want to confront or I used to make the excuse of like, well, if somebody asked me to go volunteer to go do this thing, well, I'm so busy, so I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
So why would I ask and like be, turned down from help when the reality is like, hey, if they can, they'll like. I remember I volunteered being like, Kaleb, I will, if I can't do it, I will tell you no. But if I can, I will show up.
I've had people do that.
They're like, why didn't you ask? Like I was like, I don't know. You have a job. Like,
it's like you can't say no for somebody because that's what you're doing. I always be like, I remember when I first started, I'd be like, I don't want to ask them because they're busy. But and Sarah's like, dude, you can't. Like you're saying no for them before, or it was Sarah or Jared. I think it told me it was like you're basically saying no for them. You're not even giving them the opportunity to say yes or no. And I was like, oh. Then I was like, started asking. Then I was like, and people have told me like, dude, I'll tell you no if it's too much.
Yeah.
Like 100%. And so I always make sure like, hey, if it is a lot or something, just let me know. Like I'm not going to be mad about that at all. Like I just.
Yeah, it's good, man.
So now we're going on 2 years back now.
Yep.
How are things going now? And how, I mean, it's not like, obviously we've talked about some of that already in this conversation, but just like stepping into that, because like I see you, like we've known each other for a long time, and I think maybe I told you this in July. I had come back and we had lunch or something like that, and like you're very a different person, both from a attitude or personality of just like thinking about things differently than what I had ever seen you for so many years, in such a good way now.
Yeah.
And like what an encouragement I think that can be for other people to look at that and be like, dude, like you're the gift that we have in ministry and serving in the way that we do, like it's on us to make as much of it as we put in. You know, I can't remember what other conversations we've had about that, but like the work that I put in to, whether it's myself or my attitude walking into the office on Monday at 9 a.m. and going, how am I going to show up differently, even though I might be crispy and tired and whatever that looks like. But I've loved watching that from the outside, over the last just 18 months, see that in you. And, it sounds like things are going.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, thanks for saying that. I appreciate it. It is going well. It's the best job I've ever had, to be honest, if I'm being honest.
It's awesome.
It's like, it's something where, the amount of creative freedom or flexibility with things, like, and I do give that kudos and like commend Jared and Jeannie for what they've built as far as the ministry goes. Cause like Jared always used to say, and Jeannie too, like, if you're going to cheat anything, cheat your job, meening like with your family. So like, there's times where like, they'd be like, yeah, I'm going to choose my family over my job. Like, I'm not going to, do something that's going to basically have an effect on them later. And so that was a big thing for me to really understand. And another thing too was just like, Jared was always like, don't take it home with you. And I was like, yeah. And I think about it, it's going great now. And then there's still things that come up, but I remember the first year back last year for Easter, I like was just kind of scatterbrained and kind of just having a hard time. And I remember being like, the Saturday night service, I was using Resolume for the first time, and I was like doing all these big things that I don't just don't know what I'm doing, but I just I want to do it and learn. So I did it.
Yeah.
And now it's great. Like I know it now, but bad time. I remember like I had to line up message slides on PurposeCenter and, and Resolume. And so it was like MIDI notes and all this crap. And it was like, basically Jared had a video during the message and it didn't fire. And I was like, the live stream didn't work. One of our SDI cables died that night. I'm like, what the heck, dude? So I'm trying to figure it out. And then that happens. And then Lindsay's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out the live stream. And I was freaking out. And I kind of like clammed up a little bit and was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? What did I do? And then I remember like then worship started. And then the video started playing. I was supposed to play during the message.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember like being like, what the heck? This is crazy, dude. Like, I don't. And then I realized some other things that I had to kind of take care of in that time. But then that helped me kind of understand, like, I need to make sure that I'm prioritizing things. And Garen was very helpful with me about, like, making sure that I'm prioritizing what needs to happen for a weekend or for a big service like that. Yeah. And also not taking big swings unless I'm, like, kind of prepared for it.
Yeah.
And so it's been going great now. I say that to say, like, it's not always just like,
no, of course.
I mean, even like with that LED wall I just did for the 15th anniversary, it was like,
which was amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And
it
was like
sweet.
Different pixel pitches. So, and then, it's different models of LED balls. The color was off, but it was also like, I did it. And then I was like, man, I'm never doing that again, which is not true. But in my mind, I'm like, how would I do that differently next time?
Yeah.
It didn't fail. It wasn't like that first Easter I did, but it also was like, I was able to kind of think about how I would do things differently. So it's been going great. It's been fun. The amount of trust that I have since the amount of trust I've had since I've been back has been cool. And it's been, it's helpful. I love when people trust me and some of the craziness that I have sometimes, but like they're very big on like, take the chance. Yeah. Try it. Like, let's not do the same thing over and over again, because that's not boring. It is boring. To me, it's boring to do the same thing over and over again, but also like you're not taking risks. You're not like learning. You're not failing forward essentially if you're not doing those things. So that's one thing that I really enjoy there. And that's been really fun to see and kind of be around being back there. So,
but I think like
when you haven't so bad,
you could pee.
I'm sorry.
You could pee. Go pee.
I was trying to hold it and I realized,
you're good, man.
Freaking hey, dude.
Dude, you're great. Yeah, go in there.